Hello, episode 10 has arrived, and with it, Vikings, and I have just one word to say it. Let's go. So, let's take a look at what the Vikings were in this offseason, mainly about the draft, what their roster looks right now, what is their floor, what is their upside, and how do they stack up against the rest of the league. So, let's start with the draft, where I believe they have done a very good job, especially with their top priority picks. So, before the draft, they traded up with Houston to acquire a second first round pick, which a lot of people believe, well, they will package their own pick and this one to move up for their QB of the future. But at the end of the day, they didn't really have to. Yeah, they gave up like a fourth and fifth rounder to move one spot before the Jets, which applause to Jets. Finally, someone uses leverage. It's like, well, if you don't do it, we might sell this spot to someone else who is looking for a QB, like Denver or someone else. So, you better want to take up on our offer. So, kudos to the Jets. But I cannot say that the Vikings paid a hefty price to get a guy that I believe they really wanted to get. Because JJ McCarthy is, I believe, exactly a guy that you want in this situation. He will come into the organization where they won't rely on him from day one. They don't have a lot of expectations for the season. And they have signed, I can say proven veteran because that's not what's down the list, but a guy that they will give 1 year contract, 10 million, will give him a chance to compete obviously with JJ McCarthy. And if he's good, well, good for them. If he isn't, JJ is there to take next season and follow up with getting to know how the NFL works, because he is truly one of the younger prospects in this year's draft class. But as it comes with the Vikings, they just cannot have luck. I mean, what happened to JJ McCarthy isn't obviously even the worst that happened for the Vikings in this offseason. Because JJ McCarthy, as of right now, is out for the season. He won't be able to play. Is it blessing in disguise? Not, because I would say they knew they won't rush him to get on the field. So it's kind of unfortunate that he won't get some reps with at least the second teamers to get to the speed of the NFL, at least on the practice. But is it a big blow for the Vikings for the future? Not really. Then the second pick they used to acquire Dallas Turner, one of the guys that a lot of people had associated with Falcons with the 8th pick. And I would say nobody would question that a lot. Slight overdraft, perhaps, but really slight, and for a position of need for the Falcons. To get him, number 17, not having to pay up again, the trade with Texans, I think, was really equal value. Amazing. Right? This just could not work out better, in my opinion, for Vikings. So day one, I think, was absolutely spectacular. Almost as good as the Bears had. Then we go to next picks, and here I unfortunately have to say that it has zero merit about what I think of Kyrie Jackson as a draft pick or as a prospect, because unfortunately he was killed in a drunk driving accident slightly more than a month ago. Not only him, but 2 of his teammates from college, they were not responsible for the crash, and whenever this happens, you're just out of words. Someone else, carelessness, stupidity, to drunk drive and take a life from 3 young people. I mean, what is there to say? It's just crazy. So rest in peace, Kyrie. Best of luck and all the love to your family. And if anything good can come out of this, is that it once again raised awareness about how this type of behavior is absolutely unacceptable. You should have zero tolerance for it. And well, if it might save some lives because national awareness, because obviously a lot of people follow NFL. And if, let's say, in the area of Minnesota, 10% less because they follow Vikings, because they know the story, will drunk drive less or hopefully never, it could save some lives. So at least that's some positive, but man, I'm just out of words. So rest in peace, Kyrie. Really nothing to say. And to follow up on that one, because it just sickens me, truth to be told, what happened a couple of days after this, and that's the behavior of Jordan Addison. Because when your teammate, young person, was killed in a drunk driver accident, to sit behind the wheels and be drunk, that's god-awful behavior. Like, I hope it only indicates, really, quote marks, that you have a problem with alcohol, that you can get help and you can get better. Because the other thing is, you might don't give a shit, and I hope you are not that person. So he probably will escape charges from NFL. If there's any positive, like, he was not arrested driving, he was just sitting behind his wheels drunk, presumably started to drive, figured out he is not capable and stopped. So at least something. But man oh man, like, doing this on a normal occasion is shit. Doing this after, like, a couple of days after what happened to Kyrie, man, come on, do freaking better, please. Let's come back to the rest of this draft. Walter Rouse, Will Reichert, Michael Jurgens, Levi Drager, really nothing spectacular I have to say about these players. I think they are taking flyers on guys that could be a positive. Obviously, one that should be starting is Will Reichert. Decent enough punter. We will see how he will manage in the NFL. So now let's start with the offense of Minnesota Vikings. And we start with Kevin O'Connell, their head coach, who here is ranked as their offensive coordinator, or the mind responsible for the offense. And the conversation here, especially for weaponry and in terms of passing, like how good this team will be throwing the football, is like you have kind of the best weapons, or almost the best weapons, in terms of wide receivers, tight ends, and even running back is an excellent pass catching threat, and you have the most, or like bottom 3 QB room in the league, especially with GMaty-NFL down, though he would not be over what you have in Sam Darnold. So let's take a look at that one. With Kevin O'Connell being ranked as A- for an offensive guy, I think he is spectacular. Do I feel like he's Sean McVay? Not yet. Do I see that somewhere along the way for Kevin O'Connell? Yes, I'm a huge fan of this guy. And I believe he is like top 10 doing what he does. So let's move to the roster, and we start with QBs. Obviously, with JJ McCarthy down, they have another backup in terms of Nick Mullins and Jared Hall. Both of them played last year when Kirk went down, when Joshua Dobbs' experiment kind of crashed, as he used to. Crashed is not a good word for this one. Yeah, I was trying to be funny, referencing that he was a NASA pilot, but it doesn't fit this video, so sorry about that. So after Joshua Dobbs, they tried Jared Hall, they tried Nick Mullins. If these guys have to play for you, something went wrong. They were supposed to be number 3, number 4, now they will be number 2, number 3, and pretty much everything sits on Sam Darnold, who is just a good backup, in my opinion, as a QB. But I like that he's gotten a chance, and I think he has a chance to succeed here. Why? Well, we will talk about weaponry, like the guys that he can throw to, they are exceptional, that's for one. And that's for two, Kevin O'Connell, for 3 the tackles, and for 4 he spent a year with San Francisco staff. He played some snaps there, but he was kind of, for the first time, seeing what perhaps it looks like to have a weapon with San Francisco, and now he's going to get his last, kind of for sure, but perhaps his first proper chance to actually operate within really good scheme, under really good offensive head coach, and with a lot of weapons. And to say proper chance, like, this is more than proper. Like, it doesn't get any better, almost any better than this. Like, this is absolutely premium spot to land as a QB that wants to restart his career. Like, Sam, ball is in your court, show us what you can do. Like, after this year, if it doesn't happen, it won't happen ever. Like, this is your year, and I believe you have a chance to succeed. But as of right now, he is the worst starting QB in the NFL. Definitely bottom 3, but I would say he is the worst. Let's follow up with running backs. And they've invested, not a premium, but they've invested like hefty chunk of money into Aaron Jones. Well, I would say it's worth even just because it pisses Packers fans, right? Like, that's always worth for Vikings. But B, he got released by the Packers after like taking some team-friendly cuts in his salary in order to stay in Green Bay. So that's kind of shit move. He comes to a situation in which there is not much of pressure for him, but he has a chance to stick it up to the Green Bay 2 times a year. He has really good offensive mind though, Kevin O'Connell. He's really good scheming up passing game. With run game, it's not very well, so not necessarily the best for his usage, but he has a decent O-line in front of him. And I do expect a big season from Aaron Jones. Like, I really do, especially as a receiving threat, because TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, like, teams will have to focus on these guys. So there should be a lot of space for Aaron Jones to operate kind of underneath and really get some big volume targets in terms of receiving game. In terms of rushing, he should be splitting, I would say, 65 to 35 with Ty Chandler, perhaps even less if they want to keep him healthy, which is a problem that happens to Aaron Jones every single year. He misses a game here or there, essentially playing like 60-70% of games. And Ty Chandler is not a bad option to have if in case that this happens, or in order to lower the workload for Aaron Jones. So nice room, great guy for locker room. And I would say that even Packers fans say, well, Vikings, we really hate you, but take a really good care of Aaron Jones because we love him. Now, let's take a look at wide receivers, and we have to start with JJ, aka Justin Jefferson, who missed several games for kind of the first time in his career. He had a severe injury. You can watch it in the Netflix series Wide Receiver, like how he was recovering, how was it for him to actually be off the field, be on the sidelines. But man oh man, when he was out there, he was still easily top 2 wide receiver in the league. Like, some will take the credit and say Tyreek Hill is number 1, some will say Justin Jefferson. I'm like, I don't care, let's just enjoy their freaking greatness. That's my opinion on this conversation. So even though playing only 550 snaps, he went over 1,000 yards. He wasn't as productive with touchdowns, and especially early in a year, he had one really costly fumble. You can also watch that in the Netflix series. But does it make me say anything less of him? No freaking way. Then the rest of the wide receiver room, Brandon Powell, Trent Shanfield, solid pieces that, in case of Brandon Powell, you still hope there is something more than he can show. Not necessarily, I would say, this year with Sam Darnold. So it's going to be hard for either one of them to prove that they are more than like the 4th piece that will step into 4th piece, because, you know, there is no one better than them. but they are serviceable players that you don't hate as kind of number 3, number 4 option for your wide receiver. And then with Jordan Addison, for what it's worth, his rookie season was really good, not exceptional. Like his production was really good, but that's partly because he was the main focus of the offense when Justin Jefferson went down. So not necessarily spectacular, which might have been on his plate. But if he doesn't get his shit together, it won't matter. For right now, they have really great duo, and if Jordan keeps his life on track, gets his shit together, they might have the best two in the NFL very, very soon, because that's the potential of Jordan Addison to be amazing starter, and with JJ I just don't see him going down from that elite status for next 5 years. I think it's definitely in him. But the good news for this offense doesn't end here, because then you go and you check this tight end room, and it's definitely one of those rooms that are not average, that they lift your offense. You have TJ Hawkinson, who is easily top 10 tight end. You know, whether he's top 6, yeah, that's where I'm like, it's close. It's like somewhere around the 6-7 mark. Really, really great player. Someone that something with Vikings when they trade. Last 2 big trades that they made for acquiring TJ Hawkinson and letting go of Stephon Diggs went kind of mutually beneficiary, because Detroit kind of used that pick to acquire Sam Laporta, who has been exceptional for them, and obviously with the pick that you've got for Stephon Diggs, you got Justin Jefferson. So Vikings, when you are trading for a player that has a certain caliber, or you are trading the guy away, let's focus on this trade because it's more likely than not it will result with something special. And he has really good partner, Josh Oliver, that is better blocker than him. I would say they will be in 12 personnel set quite often with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Josh Oliver, and TJ Hawkinson. I would say that could really happen a lot for this team, perhaps more than it did last season when it was not like absolute stable of this offense. But these 4 weapons, especially if you have like Aaron Jones as your running back and also rushing threat, there is like almost 4 guys that you are absolutely happy to throw to. And even Josh Oliver does more than just block. He has decent enough hands, but there is, let's say, not that many targets to get for him. And I believe my number is wrong for TJ Hawkinson in terms of his catch yards. It doesn't feel right. I believe it was 519, not 159. I'm sorry about that mistake. Let's follow up with the backups here. Robert Tonyan, Johnny Munt. Like for some, this would be tight end number 2. Here the luxury is that they are number 3 and number 4. Like really deep, really nice room. Like in terms of depth plus actual quality, I would say close to top 5, top 7 tight end room in a league. Then let's check what the offensive line looks like. And once again, we are looking at the strength of this team, especially in terms of tackles. Christian Darrisaw on one side, Brian O'Neill on the other side. Top 5 tackle duo in the league, I would say. They are better, like for example, Lions. But this is really, really nice duo. Both of them don't really lack play strength to help you with run blocking, and both of them are very, very good pass blockers. With Christian Darrisaw perhaps not showing enough to be considered elite just yet, but there's still some room to grow, while with Brian O'Neill, I just see him sticking to that important starter, really plus player for your offensive line for the future. So what more do you want, kind of? Again, if you trust in Sam Darnold, you just more trust in the pieces around him that will allow him to be great. That with David Quessenberry, actually quite nice depth in terms of offensive tackle. Can he slide inside? We will see, because there are some question marks in terms of inside of this offensive line. But as of right now, as a depth for tackle, one of the very best in the league to do that, or to be stick with that position. Inside, Ed Ingram, Garrett Bradbury, and Blake Brandel. Not really anything special. Only one guy kind of has the potential to develop. That's Ed Ingram, who has a frame, who has a size to become especially better run blocker. He just needs to show it on the field. With Garrett Bradbury, you just have your 16 or 18 to 28 best center in the league, guys that can do their job, like guys like Mitch Morse, Tyler Biadasz, a lot of snaps under their belt. They won't be your weakness. They have experience, but they are not something it's really hard to be Frank Ragnow, right? It's even harder to be Mr. Kelsey, Jason Kelsey. Sorry, names. So you are absolutely okay with having a center like Garrett Bradbury. Left guard, that's where probably Blake Brandel will start. Can they slide David Kusenberry in? Can they sign anyone else? Definitely the biggest question mark you have for this offensive line. Overall, insert a really good quarterback, and this is really electric offense. That's where, when I was also talking about Falcons, how much was Kirk made by this offense, made by this offensive personnel, how much was it Kirk got better on his own in this area. I think it's kind of 50-50, and I'm happy for Kirk that he's going to get not as good of a weapons, because Falcons don't have Justin Jefferson, but has another nice set of weapons for him awaiting him in Atlanta. Because I'm not sure that he would be able to lift let's say Chargers type of weapon that Justin Herbert has to work with. And then we go to other side of the ball, Brian Flores' defense. And this guy, I think, has a bad rep for the work he's done as a head coach with the Dolphins. Actually, just today I've heard about, let's say, a jab that Tua Tagovailoa sent towards Brian Flores, that he was really bad mentor for him, that he was trying to actively kind of suppress his career, that he wanted to trade for other quarterbacks, that he repeated to him that he is not good. I don't know, I wasn't in the room, obviously. It probably hurts Brian Flores' stock as next, in line for next head coaching job, but that's absolute blessing for the Vikings, because he is one of the best defensive minds in football, and I will stick by this statement. I will kind of, no, again, this comparison doesn't work for today. Well, I will stick by the statement, because especially early in the year, he was doing miracle with really subpar cast. Later, there were some offenses that found the success against this defense, but you can also attribute that to low production in terms of offense after Kirk Cousins' injury. So the offense had to be on the field much more often, were more tired, and that's where, when you have subpar personnel, you kind of will struggle. So what he has to work with for the season is, again, really nothing special. But let's start with, in terms of league, bad age group, but in terms of, are these players actually good players? Yeah, both Jonathan Greenard and Andrew Van Ginkel are good players. Andrew Van Ginkel had an exceptional year last year. It was a bit of an outlier for him. Can I see him repeat that? Can I see him step up? Well, yes, actually I do, because of Brian Flores. I feel like he can step up. He can be really good. You wish he was your second best edge rusher piece for this defense. And the same could go for Jonathan Greenard. So if those guys both kind of keep up with what they showed last year, which I absolutely believe that under blindfolds they can, now suddenly you're talking about two really plus edge guys that are not elite, are not like top 10, top 15, top 20, but they could be like in that chunk of 20 to 30 in terms of best edge rushers in the league. And when you have two of them, you can definitely live with that. Yeah, and you are not live with that, you are actually happy with that. Okay. Then they obviously drafted Dallas Turner with the possibility that, let's say, we don't trust that either of these guys can emerge as that. Miles Garrett is like, okay, Josh Allen, the edge rusher Josh Allen, Aiden Hutchinson, like these up and coming young talents that can be and should be your true number one edge pieces, and I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility for last Turner. Okay, this year, no, but this is not the year that Vikings are like saying we are all in for freaking sure. So he will have time to develop, he will have like good pieces next to him, so he should really be able to utilize his potential with this coaching staff, with the players next to him that provide really nice competition as well as mentorship for him. Jihad Ward, I don't have good things to say about him other than he managed to get 6x last year, but it's more work and beauty of the scheme rather than his own doing. In terms of interior, that's where some of the problems for this defensive line shows even a little bit, because next to Harrison Phillips, who is like similar type to Andrew Van Ginkel, to Jonathan Greenard, although he doesn't have the potential to improve in terms of rankings, I will really be shocked if Harrison Phillips will earn anything better than good starter like in any future that I can imagine. But you know, for what he is, he's a good player. But you don't have really a good guy next to him. Jerry Tillery, Jonah Williams, Jonathan Bullard, not really that much of a potential, not really that much of a quality either. So this interior is definitely subpar and something that can hold this team down. Then we go towards the linebacker room. Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace, Brian Asamoah. With Ivan Pace, you kind of treat him as like a secret edge rusher. He has a nice speed, he has a nice burst, he is getting schemed blitzes very often, and he's really good at them. Then you have Blake Cashman, really stable linebacker, kind of can do it all on a good enough level, or say very good level for like linebackers in modern NFL. So I think he's just a good player, but in like a scope of linebackers, that gives you like middle of the pack type of number one linebacker. Like there is not that many better linebackers than Blake Cashman. Like he is 18th best linebacker in the league. Combine that with really decent, almost good starter in Ivan Pace and some perhaps potential with Brian Asamoah, and this is nice group that won't hold you back, won't elevate you either, will make some plays, especially with Ivan Pace, and will be kind of that steady force with Blake Cashman. Then we switch to secondary, and definitely where you have your best hopes is the safety room with Harrison Smith, Cameron Bynum, and Josh Metellus. With Brian Flores schemes, sometimes Josh Metellus kind of plays, let's say, all over the field, kind of positionless type of role. It doesn't mean like he wanders around on the sidelines, but sometimes he plays a free safety, sometimes he plays strong safety, sometimes it's more of a linebacker. So he really switches the position. That requires him to really communicate well, to understand well, and he definitely does that. With Harrison Smith, you have a leader for this room, you have experience, you have, it's 8-10 years of his career, I'm not really sure, but He is on that you would say perhaps declining trajectory, but he still can keep up. You can see 64 tackles last year. When he was targeted, only 67.8 pass rating. Really, really good player that we are super happy to have. And next to him, Cameron Bynum. Like you can see, those three guys last year, they played over 1,000 snaps. So they are on the field together, they play different roles, and they are one of the best safety trios. No, in terms of trios, they might actually be the best. But in terms of even like a safety duo, this is really good room. Like that's why they got my B ranking, because yeah, there is no top guy. You know, you don't have Jesse Bates, you don't have Anton Winfield here, but you have three good starters that are actually combined severe plus for this defense and for this team overall. Where the conversation takes a swing down is this cornerback room. Though they perhaps saw it in the practice, or they were just waiting this moment, they have signed Stephen Gilmore for 1 year contract to be brought to this room to kind of raise the floor of these guys, where they are what the safety room is, toned down by like 1.5 type of tier, which is a lot. And there is, or it wasn't without Stephen Gilmore, really no guy that you are not comfortable, like you are not scared of run against the number one wide receiver of the opposing team. It's like kind of no matter who that guy is, because like there are very few teams in the modern NFL that don't have really good number one wide receiver. And neither Byron Murphy, neither Caleb Evans, neither Shaquille Griffin are the guys that I would be comfortable running against them. One more note, Shaquille Griffin, obviously former Seahawk, where he even played with his brother, who managed to get on the field without missing part of his arm. Like what an accomplishment. It was really heartwarming to see them both on the field, because it's not like he got a job just for like a sympathy. He was actually able to play even with such a disability. Like yes, it was just for I believe 2 or 3 seasons, but still great accomplishment. I'm sorry with my lack of memory on words. I believe it was Shaquem Griffin, but if I'm wrong on this one, I'm so sorry. Shaquille Griffin's brother, you guys can find it out. Definitely one of the stories, like six years ago, I believe, that he kind of went and was like visible for Seahawks team. Overall, this cornerback trio is something you should be worried about. But with the addition of Stephen Gilmore, suddenly this room has depth, because now suddenly a guy that I'm happy to be my number 3 won't be starting. I'm not sure who is it going to be. I would rule out Byron Murphy. I think he's going to play next to Stephon Gilmore, and it's going to be one of the Caleb Evans, Shaquille Griffin, who will end up on the bench. With the addition of Stephon Gilmore, this room is still something like C-, because like Stephon Gilmore is not Stephon Gilmore from the year where he won Defensive Player of the Year, but he still showed a lot of good football last season. I do have him great as an impactful starter, so it essentially leaves you with impactful starter and 2 decent starters, which rounds out like medium quality cornerback room. Perhaps like slightly less, that's where minus comes, because if anything, I feel like they are more on that lower side of my grades. So that rounds up overall this team. It was kind of harder conversation from the beginning, because there is the shadow of what happened to Kyrie Jackson over the summer. I would say it's still all over this team. They also have terrible luck with injuries beside that, so that doesn't add up. Let's talk about what the floor is for this team and what like kind of their best case scenario is. I think floor is around 5 wins. But no, let's say 4, because as great as really a lot of groups here are, as great as Brian Flores is, as great as Kevin O'Connell is, if Sam Darnold is just bad, like he can definitely be what like Zach Wilson was last year, or what Bryce Young was last year, or like in worst case scenario was what Mac Jones was last year, or what Sam Howell was last year, and like even worst case scenario what Desmond Ridder was last year. That's a possible outcome. Maybe it just doesn't click for Sam Darnold, and in that case, like if you go to Nick Mullins, or if you pick up anyone from street like that did with with Joshua Dobbs last year, they should still be able to win some games because of everything around these guys. So 4 games, I would say, is an absolute floor, even if Sam Darnold is absolutely poor pace. If JJ McCarthy was the backup that I was certain about, I would definitely state it 5 wins floor. But with him being gone for the season, I have to go with just 4. And big reason for that is this division is crazy good. I can see them going 0-6 in this division. Like Packers, they probably found their guy again. Lions, they are one of the Super Bowl contenders. And Bears with Caleb Williams and company are definitely looking to feast on the Vikings. So I would not rule out the possibility of going 0-6 against your own division. And then you have 11 games left. So going for 4-7 in those, yeah, why not? What's their upside? That's an interesting conversation because it kind of lives and dies with how much you trust Sam Darnold could turn from a pumpkin into like a beautiful prince within this 1 year. I think his ceiling for at least this season is around 20-ish best QB, like somewhere Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, something like that. Which, with Brian Flores and this defense actually having some potential and those weapons, I'm going to say just 8 wins. I wanted to say 9, but I'm going to say just 8 because of this division. Like even if things work out really nicely, it's still going to be really hard to go like better than 3-3 in this division, or even like 2-4 would sound like a good record in this division. So yeah, I think floor is 5 wins, like highs should be 8 wins. 9 wins is really close, but I will stick with just 8 wins. Definitely a team that while I'm not a fan of, like in terms of I'm not, I'm a fan of Seahawks, and there are some teams that I wish it more than to the others. Towards that list, I had to put Vikings because I really like Kevin O'Connell, I really like Justin Jefferson, and for all the bad luck and tragedy that this team has to go through, I just hope that they will do well. So with that, and the message, stay away from your wheel when you are drunk, I will leave it at that. See you guys with the next one. That was the 10th episode with the Vikings. Bye.